You felt it. Not envy, exactly. You'd never call it that. It comes near midnight. The lights are off. There's only the screen and your thumb moving on its own. Someone you used to know has posted something. A life that, from the outside, seems to hold together. And there it is. Not a wave. Just a small tightening, low in the chest. A sentence that never quite forms. And then the quiet shame of having almost thought it. So you call it something kinder. You keep scrolling. But the tightening doesn't leave. It stays with you into the morning. It's still there, faintly, when you wake. A residue you can't quite name, from a feeling you never fully admitted having. Tonight, I want to tell you what it is, not how to make it stop. Just what it is you've been carrying all this time under the wrong name. Here's the thing you learned to do, so long ago you can't remember learning it. When that tightening came, you dressed it. You saw the post, felt the drop, and within a second, faster than thought, you'd already turned it into something you could live with. I'm happy for them. And you were, a little. That part was even true. But underneath the true part was the other thing. The thing you moved past so fast you almost didn't see it happen. Because to feel it directly, you'd have to admit something unbearable. That in some corner you care about, quietly, you believe they're ahead of you. That you are, in that one place, less. And no one wants to sit in that. It's humiliating. Not just to feel it, but to be caught feeling it. So your mind does you a favor. It takes the raw thing and gives it a costume. Sometimes the costume is generosity. Good for them. Sometimes it's suspicion. Bet it's not even real. Bet they're miserable behind all that. And sometimes it comes dressed as fairness. The world gave them what it kept from you. That one is the easiest to wear. A grievance you can stand up straight inside of. Envy, you can't. Envy just makes you small. And you didn't invent this dressing up on your own. You learned it early, the way you learned everything about which feelings were safe to show. Somewhere back there, you let something raw be seen. A wanting, a reaching, a naked, I wish that were mine. And it wasn't met well. Maybe someone laughed. Maybe someone told you not to be like that. Maybe the room just cooled, the way rooms do, and you felt it. And you understood without words that this particular feeling was not one you could carry out in the open. So you learned to catch it before anyone saw, to reach for the costume before the raw thing could show its face. By now you do it so fast it feels like character. It feels like who you are. But it was a skill learned under pressure a long time ago. It's a good mask. I want to be honest about that. It's protected you for years. It let you scroll past 100 quiet losses without ever stopping to feel one. It lets you stay someone who's fine, someone who's happy for their friends. But a mask that works has a cost. You never got to find out what was under it. You called the feeling by the wrong name so many times you forgot it had a real one. And there's a quieter cost, the one that takes years to notice. A mask you wear long enough stops coming off. It fuses. The face underneath, the one that felt things plainly, starts to go numb from lack of use. Because every real feeling got intercepted at the door and handed a costume before it could reach you. After a while, you don't just hide the envy from other people. You hide it from yourself. You genuinely can't find it. You feel the tightening, and you honestly don't know what it is. Because the part of you that could have told you got quieter every year. You refuse to listen. That's the real price. Not that you lied to others about being fine, that you got so good at it, you can no longer feel the place where you aren't. So let me say the real one. There's an old idea, older than any feed, about the parts of ourselves we don't carry in the light. You know the obvious version, that each of us has a darker side, the anger, the greed, the wanting we were taught to keep out of view. As children, we learned fast which parts of us brought warmth and which parts made the room go cold. And the parts that cost us love, we put away. Not deleted, put away. Somewhere we stopped looking. But here's the part they don't tell you. It isn't only the ugliness we hide down there. We hide gold too. Some of what we buried as children wasn't shameful at all. It was too much, too bright. A child who's bold gets called difficult, so the boldness goes into the dark. A child who's tender gets called soft, so the tenderness goes down with it. The confidence, the hunger, the particular gift, anything that drew the wrong kind of attention, anything that didn't fit the small, safe shape we were being asked to become. We didn't only bury our worst, we buried some of our best right alongside it, because at the time it was just as dangerous to be. You can almost remember it if you look. There was a version of you, Jung, who wanted things loudly, who sang in the wrong key without caring, who raised a hand too fast, felt too much, reached for the big, obvious dream in front of everyone. And somewhere along the way, that child learned that wanting out loud was a way to get hurt, that the safest thing was to want less visibly, to need nothing anyone could see. So the loud wanting got quiet, not because it died, because you taught it to whisper. And a whisper kept up for 20 years starts to sound like silence. You forget it was ever a voice. Depth psychology has a name for this brighter, buried material. The Jungian writers who came after Jung, most famously Robert Johnson, called it the golden shadow, the good we disowned. Jung himself put it plainly enough. The shadow isn't only weakness. It's also instinct and vitality and the raw material of a fuller life. The things we refuse to know about ourselves aren't all monsters. Some of them are the people we might have been. Now, here's what the buried gold does once it's down there. It doesn't stay quiet. It looks for a way back into the light. And the way it finds is other people. When something is ours but we can't hold it, can't admit it's ours, the mind does something strange and automatic. It finds someone who's living the thing we buried, and it settles on them. In the Jungian reading, this is what's happening in that midnight moment. When you see the person who's free and something in you pulls hard toward them or turns hard against them, that pull, that heat, isn't really about them. And it isn't random which face catches you. You could scroll past 1,000 people and feel nothing, and then one stops you cold. In this way of seeing, that's not chance. The part of you that's gone quiet is looking for itself, and it recognizes its own reflection faster than you can. The people who snag you, the ones you can't quite scroll past, the ones you check on when you know you shouldn't, they tend to be carrying the exact thing you set down. Not a life better than yours in every way, a specific brightness, the particular one that used to be yours. There's a way of putting it I keep coming back to. If a quality were completely absent from you, it couldn't touch you. You'd see it and feel nothing. It would pass right through. The fact that it stings, that it lights you up or turns you sour, is a sign that something in you is hooked to it. You can't be moved by a color you can't see. So think about what that means for the feed. Sometimes the face you envy is a mirror, not because you want their life, exactly, because they're living, out in the open, something in you that went one-sided a long time ago. Some part you stopped feeding until it went quiet and slipped out of view. And here's why it doesn't feel gentle. You'd think grief for something buried would be soft, like an ache. But envy isn't soft. It's sharp and a little sour, and it can turn ugly before you've even finished feeling it. There's a way of understanding that in this old tradition. A thing you bury doesn't always stay the way it was. Gold left in the dark long enough may not keep shining down there, patient, waiting for you. It can sour, it can turn. The bright thing you refuse to live can rot over the years into something bitter. And the bitterness is what surfaces first, not as longing, but as resentment, as must be nice, as a hot little wish that they'd lose it. That sourness isn't proof you're a bad person. If anything, it's a measure of how long the gold has been down there, turning with no light and no air. That's why it finds you late at night, alone, scrolling, and not in the middle of a busy day. The feed is a machine built for exactly this. 100 lit windows held up at once, one after another, and behind some of them, a piece of your own buried life being lived by someone who isn't you. A kitchen, late, one light on, 2 plates on the table. He set them there without thinking. An old habit his hands still keep. He'll only use one. The other just sits there, clean across from him. He's still in his coat. He meant to sit down 20 minutes ago. Instead, he's standing at the counter with the phone in his hand, its light on the underside of his face. The rest of him in the dark, watching other people's lives arrive in a small, bright rectangle. He isn't jealous. He'd tell you that. He's just looking. And maybe you know the feeling from the inside. The second plate you don't look at directly. The table set some night long ago for a version of your life you were sure you'd be living. And the quiet understanding that the seat is still empty. And you're not sure anymore who was supposed to fill it. So let me say the thing the mask was built to keep you from saying. The person you envy isn't your rival. They're carrying something for you. I know how that sounds. The person you'd least expect to be on your side. The one whose post just put that tightening back in your chest. And I'm telling you, they're doing you a service. But stay with it. Because it's true in a way that changes everything about these nights. Some part of you, the boldness, the freedom, the particular gift that went quiet so long ago you don't remember letting it go. And you didn't lose it in one dramatic moment. It left in the small daily gestures of self-forgetting. Every time you made yourself smaller to stay safe. Every time you let something in, you go still because keeping it alive was too much to hold. It didn't leave all at once. It slipped out of your hands a little at a time and settled on the people who could carry it more easily than you could. And now it comes back to you in the worst possible way, as someone else's ordinary afternoon, as a post, as a life that seems to hold together, arriving at midnight in a bright little window, while you stand in the dark and feel that old tightening and call it something kinder. The cruelest comparison was never to them. It was to yourself, the version of you that never came to be, the one who kept the gold. That person stands just behind every face you envy, and you've been aching for them the whole time and calling it jealousy, because jealousy is easier to survive than grief. Sit with that for a second, because it changes what these nights actually are. Every time you envied someone, you thought you were measuring yourself against a stranger. You weren't. You were standing at a small window, looking at a life you were supposed to be living, mourning a person you never got to meet, and mistaking the whole thing for a character flaw. All those nights you called yourself bitter or petty or not happy enough for the people you love, that was never what was happening. You were at a graveside. You just didn't know whose, and no one taught you how to grieve this kind of loss, because no one names it as a loss. When a person dies, there are rituals. People bring food. They sit with you. They understand that something is gone. But there's no funeral for the self you didn't become. No one sends a card. No one says, "I'm sorry" for the version of you that never got to live. So the grief has nowhere to go. It has no shape, no name, no permission. And grief with nowhere to go doesn't disappear. It waits. It comes out sideways, late at night, disguised as a small, ugly feeling about someone else's good news. Because sometimes that's what this is. Not envy, grief. You've been grieving the person you didn't become. This is where I'm supposed to lift you, where the story turns, where I tell you the gold isn't gone, that you can still reach back in and take it, that it was in you all along, that all you have to do is claim it. That's where these stories usually end. They almost have to. It's unbearable otherwise. But I don't think I can tell you that tonight. Not honestly. Some of it, yes. Some of what went quiet is still close enough to the surface to come back. A way of being curious out loud, a tenderness you lock down. And where that's true, you'll feel it, and you should reach for it. I won't take that from you to sound wise, but not all of it. Some of what went silent for good, not because time ran out, but because of who you had to become without it. You grew over the years into a self that no longer has a place to put it. A self that works. A self that got you here. And that self can't simply take the goal back now. It isn't shaped to hold it anymore. Every time you kept yourself small to stay safe, a version of you went quiet. And most of the time, keeping small was the right thing to do. That's the part nobody says. You weren't a coward. You were a person staying alive in the conditions you were given, and the cost of staying alive was leaving some of your brightness unlived. You don't get to have kept yourself safe and have lived every version of yourself. No one does. The unlived ones don't come back just because you finally see them. They stay where they are, out there in other people's windows. And part of being honest tonight is letting them stay there without pretending you can go get them. And I don't want to rush you past that. The world will rush you past it. It will hand you the feeling and turn it immediately into a task. Find your gold. Reclaim your power. Become who you were meant to be. As if naming the loss were the same as fixing it. As if grief were just motivation that hadn't been organized yet. It isn't. Some losses don't turn into fuel. They just stay losses. And the only thing you can do with them is not look away. We're not good at this as a culture. We can grieve a person barely. We have no idea what to do with the grief for a life. There's no word for it that doesn't sound like self-pity. No ritual. No permission to feel it for longer than a moment before someone tells you to count your blessings. So most people never grieve it at all. They just carry a low background ache for decades and call it their personality. You've probably done it yourself for years without a name for what you were carrying. So don't, not yet. Before you do anything with this, before you reclaim a single thing, sit here a moment with the plain fact of it. That there were people you might have been, that you weren't able to become them, that you've spent years mistaking the ache of that for envy of strangers, dressing it up, scrolling past it, night after night. You don't have to make anything of that right now. It can simply be true. I know how strange that sounds in a life that asks you to convert everything into progress. You're allowed to just know this and do nothing with it, and let the knowing sit in you like a stone in cold water. You don't have to forgive anyone tonight, including yourself. You don't have to decide which gold to go reclaim. You don't have to feel better by the end of this. In fact, if there's one thing I'd ask, it's that you resist the urge to tie this off neatly. Because the urge to resolve it quickly is the same reflex that buried the gold in the first place. The reflex that says this feeling is too much. Put it away. For once, don't put it away. Let it be as big as it actually is. A whole person, unlived. That deserves more than a moment of tidy closure before you go back to scrolling. Tomorrow you'll open the feed again. I won't pretend you won't. And the tightening will come again near midnight with someone else's bright window. That doesn't leave because we understood it once. But maybe the next time it comes, you'll have a truer name for it. Maybe instead of good for them, or bet it's not even real, or isn't fair, you'll feel the tightening and think quietly, there's my gold. Someone else is carrying it tonight. And maybe you'll let yourself miss the person you didn't get to be instead of resenting the person who reminds you of them. It won't fix your life, but it's the difference between a wound you keep reopening and a loss you finally agreed to hold. That's all I have for you tonight. Not a way out, just a truer name. Because a grief you can name is different from one you can't. The one you can't name runs you from underneath. It comes out sideways, as resentment, as a bad feeling about someone else's good news. The one you can name, you get to simply carry. It doesn't have to be anyone's fault. It doesn't have to be fixed by mourning. Some of your gold you'll go back for. Some of it stays out there in other people's windows, being lived by someone who isn't you. Good night.